Welcome back to the Weekly Sports Magazine. I am Dynamic Dave. I'm here every Saturday morning. Appreciate you joining me. And of course, at this time every Saturday morning, we do our Dynamic Dish. The Dynamic Dish has everything to do with sports. Sometimes it's sports. Sometimes it's political sports. Sometimes it's serious. Sometimes it's fun. This morning it's serious, and this is the beginning of a series that I'm going to do on who or what destroyed LittleRock High School football. Last night I had the pleasure to go over to Quigley Stadium and watch LittleRock Central Tigers play Mountain Home. Mountain Home is in northwest Arkansas. And of course, Central beat them thoroughly. I think the final score was like 41-7, something like that. Good to see the Tigers winning that game. But over the years, the Tigers, along with all of the other LittleRock schools, have been suffering. So I've been back to LittleRock about a year, and of course I've followed the Tigers over the years and hearing the stories about how bad they are. And as I met friends and relatives, that they'd say, man, those guys not like you guys were. And of course, during my senior year, our team undefeated, state champs. I was team captain, enjoyed all of that. But it was always LittleRock Central, LittleRock Parkview, and LittleRock Hall. Now, I believe the demise began when they killed the Turkey Day game. Those of you who are my age, you remember every Thanksgiving going over to Quigley Stadium and the traditional game at 10 a.m. for LittleRock Central and LittleRock Hall. It was not only a state spectacle, but it was a national spectacle. Now, they killed that game because they wanted to have a more competitive Arkansas football, high school football by playoffs, which is fine. I understand that. But that was the beginning of the demise of LittleRock football. More importantly, demographics happens, desegregation happens, and as I've read this story, let me give you a stat. And if you want this particular story, it's written by Robert Yates. He apparently writes for the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, and we're going to try to get Robert Yates on. But let me just give you a stat, just kind of boggled my mind. The combined season record of the 5 LittleRock school district programs, that's LittleRock Central, Hall, J.A. Fair, Parkview, and McClellan. The combined record hasn't even been above 500 since 1999. The records are 234 to 506 and 3. In other words, that's pathetic. Since 2000, that's a 31% winning percentage. Now, why is that? How is it possible that the largest metropolitan area can't field a football team? A legitimate high school football team. Last fall I talked to Coach Scooter Register, who's the head coach of LittleRock Central. And Coach Register told me that, there's a championship football team that walks the halls of LittleRock Central every day. And you couldn't get those kids out to come and play. Now, there are a lot of politics that have went into this. Desegregation of the LittleRock public schools. They come up with this program, this M2M program, where regardless of where you lived, there are no more districts. Regardless of where you lived, you could go to any school. So, for instance, Darren McFadden, who was at the time, he was in the LittleRock Central School District. He was able to go to another school and play. He didn't have to go to school. Now, from what I understand, they've killed this M2M program, and now it's going to be a little bit different. I'm trying to find out the exact name of the M2M, but basically it allows kids that if you're in a school that is not excelling, you can transfer to magnet school. Well, look, LittleRock Central has always been at the top of the list as it relates to academics, so that shouldn't have been a problem. Okay? I understand that LittleRock Hall, they were talking about closing it at one time. LittleRock Parkview, up and down, up and down. Now, here's the problem with this. If kids are not participating in sports, what are they participating in? All right. When I was coming up, my coach was my mentor. I grew up without a father. So my coaches were my mentors, along with my Boy Scout leaders and so on and so forth. So if you've got kids who are not on the football field or the basketball courts or participating in athletics, then what are they doing? They're hanging out. That might be part of the reason that Little Rock has such a bad gang problem. That might be the reason why you can't go anywhere, because young people are so bad, because they don't have any skin in the game. So why would you go out of your way to destroy these programs? Now you mean to tell me that there are schools that are in no look. Let me just tell you, there has not been a champion from the Central Arkansas area since 2004. The last team to do that was Little Rock Central. That's ridiculous. There should at least be one school that's not only going to excel in academics, but is going to excel in athletics. Central should be that school. And I'm just saying that just because it's the high school in my alma mater. I'm saying because it puts out 500 to 600 graduates a year. And you mean to tell me that there aren't kids walking the halls that can play? You go up to Northwest Arkansas and you look at the facilities, all the money that has been invested in those schools, yet they invest little or no money in the Little Rock schools. You look at Maumelle. You look at Oak Grove, brand new stadium, state of the art. You go to Quigley, and Quigley looks about the same. Yes, it does have AstroTurf now. Yes, it has a new press box. But they've done little to invest in the infrastructure. Look, kids want to play in nice stadiums. You go down into the locker room, that same weight room that I trained in from 76 to 79, and when it would pour down rain, it would flood. It still floods today in 2015. What that says is people here in the Pulaski County area and the powers that be don't give a damn about the kids in the Little Rock public school system. Now, I know demographics, public schools, all of those things have come into, private schools, all of those things have come into play. But at the end of the day, because Little Rock Central has such a national reputation, they ought to be able to compete year in and year out. But they cannot. Because if I'm a kid and I go and look in that locker room, and I go to another school that, like Oak Grove or Maumelle, and look at their locker rooms, where do I want to play? I want to play in the best facilities. I want to play in the best looking stadium. I want to train in the best facilities. This is pathetic. Just recently, last week, famed attorney John Walker has filed a lawsuit against the state because they've taken over the Little Rock School District. Part of the reason is because of poor performing schools. Well, you know why those schools are not performing well? Because you're not investing in those schools. You're taking your money, the money of taxpayers, the people that live right here in Pulaski County, the people that live right here in Little Rock, you're taking that money and you're investing in the suburban schools. You're basically thumbing your nose at the parents who have schools who can't afford to send their kids out to the suburb, who doesn't have transportation out to the suburbs. I remember a day when North Little Rock High couldn't win a football game. You go over there now and look at that brand new state-of-the-art stadium that was just built for them. Quigley Stadium has been, I think it was built back in the 40s. It's a venerable stadium. But if you want these kids to participate, you've got to do more for them. You've got to invest in their infrastructure. This is by design. Taking taxpayers' dollars and supporting private schools is a joke. It should not be happening. And then those private schools come and they're able to offer these kids scholarships to come to those schools, whereas a public school can't do that. I saw it happen in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's now happening in Little Rock. And you ask the question, you dare to ask the question, why the kids in Little Rock are getting involved in negative activity, while they're getting involved in drugs, while they're getting involved in gang activity. Because you, the city of Little Rock, is not doing a damn thing to help them. You've thrown your hands up. Because the majority of those kids that attend the Little Rock public schools are black. That's what this is all about. Yeah, these public schools want your kids to go to their schools for their athletic ability. They really don't care about them as individuals. This city clearly doesn't care about them as individuals. And the only reason that they support Central is because Central has a national perspective. That's the only reason. They don't support Little Rock Hall. They're talking about closing Hall. Parkview is up and down. This is a problem. And if we sit around and allow this to continue, yeah, Central Arkansas, Little Rock in particular, is going to be, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be blighted. White flight has affected this. Okay, good. If you want to move out to the suburbs, you don't want to go to school for black kids with black kids, that's a you problem. I don't care. I don't believe in separate. I don't believe in separate is equal. I believe, if our kids are going to schools, then if you're going to spend $1 million at Maumelle or Oak Grove, then you need to be spending $1 million at Hall, Parkview, or whatever, at Little Rock Central, and Little Rock McClellan. That's the bottom line here. Parents, you have got to stand up. Look, if you want your kids off the street, then you got to get them in a program. You got to get them on a team. You got to make them understand that they are just as responsible for making good choices as you are. And then you got to get off your butts and go down to the Little Rock School District and complain. You got to support John Walker. Because this is pathetic, folks. This is pathetic. That you would have so much hate in your hearts that you'd be willing to destroy generations of children. And that's what's happening. It's almost like, well, if you make it out great, and then you want to come and cherry pick black kids from the inner city to go to your schools so your athletic programs can be good. That's a bunch of crap. And I'm sorry, you can be pissed off at me all you want, because I'm pissed off. It's time to stop this craziness. It's time to stand up. And look, here's the other thing. And you've heard me talk about this enough. I looked at the University of Arkansas roster. There were 4 kids from Little Rock on their roster. 4. In their heyday, they had 10, 11, 12 kids. Are you telling me that Little Rock no longer produces great athletes? Yeah, they do. But the most of them are not playing. So they hadn't really understood that they have athletic potential. So if you love your Hogs, then you got to love Little Rock and the athletes that come out of Little Rock, because if you are not recruiting your metropolitan area in your state, and I know Arkansas has a small recruiting base, so the best athletes come from your metropolitan areas. If you're not recruiting those kids, then you're not going to win. And guess what's happening? Look at the University of Arkansas. It's not winning. That's my case. But if you do nothing else, and I'm sorry this dish is running a little longer than normal, but this is passionate. I'm passionate about this. If you want these kids to make it, if you want your University of Arkansas to make it, then you've got to fix not only the public school system in Arkansas, but you got to fix the athletic programs that produce those great players from back in the day. McClellan, J.A. Fair, Little Rock Parkview, Little Rock Hall, and course, my alma mater, Little Rock Central. That's the only way you're going to solve this problem. And I tell parents now, it's going to come a time where parents, you're going to have to make a stand for your kids. And at what point do you pull your kids out of the Little Rock School District altogether and not send them to school until it's fixed? Because all of them can't go to a private school. And that's the problem with this argument about private versus public. Private is doing exactly what it's doing. It's cherry picking the best of the best and leaving the rest to the public school systems. And it's happening all over the country. This is a joke. And I'm angry about it. And this is not going to be the last time that I talk about this. Because it needs to be fixed. Yes, I support John Walker. I hope this suit goes through. I hope he sues the pants off of the state and demand money for these schools. Because our children deserve it. No, my kids are grown now. I don't have kids in the Little Rock School District, but I live in Little Rock. And I see these kids every day. I work with kids in Little Rock. They deserve more. And it's time for parents, black parents, and those white parents who still have kids in the public school system, because there are quite a few of them, to stand up and say enough is enough. Stop taking our tax dollars, our millages, and building schools on the outskirts of Pulaski County and not investing in public schools in Little Rock. We demand it, and it's the moral thing to do.